Hello, Riley. Good morning. All right, so Riley and I are getting started with the day. Rather than just starting the day by showing our campsite with my pack and Riley standing still, I figured I would start the day with us actually starting the day. So I'm got my pack on. I'm getting Riley's leash strapped into my waist belt, like so. Very good. Got my trekking poles. This was our campsite last night. We had our tent set up right there. And we're getting back on the trail now, going northbound. So today is day number 82. Tuesday, July 23rd. And I did not do a closeout video yesterday. I could have. I was certainly up long enough in my tent. But I was busy doing stuff, and by the time I kind of got finished with stuff, I just put my head down and went to sleep. So didn't do a closeout video yesterday, but yeah, we did end up going past Darlington Shelter. We just and when we went past the shelter, I knew there was a campsite not too far after, and so I was just keeping my eye out for a campsite, and whichever one I found, I was just going to take the first one that I found. And so we ended up making it 7/10 of a mile after the shelter. We were going uphill to get to the shelter, and then after we got to the shelter, there was a downhill. So it was almost 7/10 of a mile downhill. And we ended up making it a total of 15.3 miles yesterday. I think it was 15.3. And I believe we're at mile, where we made it to mile approximately 10:39.5, I believe. So that's where we're starting the day today. We're 10 miles south of Duncannon, Pennsylvania. And yeah, so yesterday, I felt good about yesterday. I didn't feel good about it initially when we were getting off to such a late start. I was feeling pretty bad. Well, not bad, but just feeling like I was squandering the day a little bit, since we got off to such a late start. Riley's gonna have his first bowel movement of the day here. But we made up good time because of as I mentioned many times yesterday, the very flat terrain, very flat, easy terrain, and it was not hot at all. Hold up, Riley. I gotta do stuff with this. All right, we'll check in a short video. All right, continuing on here. Yes, the flat, easy terrain, and the rain was very nice. Initially yesterday, for most of the day, it was very nice. But I was very surprised actually at how long the rain persisted. It just continued like all day yesterday, literally all day. There were times where it did start to taper off, and I felt like it was about to end, but then it just came back. So like, when we were taking the break under the bridge, that was a period where it had tapered off a little bit before that. Okay, Riley is just really going this morning, so I'm gonna ask him to stay behind me a little bit. He's pulling me a little too much. Yeah, so when we were taking a break under the bridge, that was a time where it had started to get stronger, And we had 4 miles to go from there to get to the shelter. And it started to taper off a little bit before we got to the shelter. But then as we were getting really close to the shelter, like once it was starting to get dark, it started to get stronger again. And it just turned into a solid rain. And by the time we literally got to the side trail that led into the shelter, it was raining. I mean, yeah, it wasn't just a light drizzle anymore. And there was definitely a case to be made to just go into the shelter and try to see if we could stay in the shelter. But I just really like staying in our tent with Riley. I really just like the privacy of just me and Riley by ourselves. And I also wanted to make a little more progress. Riley, oh my goodness, stay behind me. And I really also just wanted to make a little more progress. Even though it was just a short bit, I felt like going a little bit further. So we ended up going further. We found our tent site. But I was getting kind of annoyed at that point that it was still raining. And at that point it was like definitely after 9 p.m. I'm not sure exactly what time it was. So I ended up having to set the tent up in the dark. I mean in the rain. And by the time we got in the rain in the tent, both Riley and I were soaked. But again, the good thing is that it's not cold out here. So it was just slightly uncomfortable. And the good thing about the tent that I have, with it not being a double wall, with it being a single wall, is that it's possible to set the tent up in the rain and it still keeps the inside of the tent relatively dry. Whereas with a double wall, you first set up the bug netting before you put the tent fly on. And when you're setting up the bug netting, if it's raining, the entire inside of the tent is going to get soaked. So that's one of the advantages of the tent that I have. It does keep the inside of the tent relatively dry when even if you're setting up in pouring rain. So we got in the tent last night, and everything was damp. It wasn't completely dry. Everything was definitely damp, but it was way better than just having it raining right inside the tent. And Riley and I were able to manage, and we were just thankful to be inside the tent and be able to relax and settle down for the day. And we got a good night's sleep. We got some good, we had our dinner as well last night. And I wasn't in any rush to get up super early this morning. I never am. I mean, I'm not any day, but especially when it's been raining and we're wet and things are damp. But I don't feel like we got off to a super late start either. Feels like a fine start. I'm not sure what time it is yet. So we're out of the Cumberland Valley now, so we don't have another easy day like yesterday. In my guidebook, it says that the last 6 miles to Duncannon are on very rocky terrain. And I do kind of remember from my 2018 hike that the terrain was getting pretty rocky as we were going into Duncannon. And in particular, there's a big climb that we have to do. And then there's a big descent before getting into Duncannon. But then after the big descent, there's kind of another pretty steep, pretty short, but pretty steep climb that makes you think, like, what in the world? I thought we were going into town. And now we're like doing another big climb. And it's just confusing, like, what is the purpose of this extra climb? But whatever. It ends eventually, and then the trail does eventually lead you into town. So yeah, so last night we, like I said, it was raining while I set up the tent. And then after we got in the tent, it was continuing to rain. So it was just very noisy with the raindrops bouncing off the roof of the tent. And then I remember waking up in the middle of the night and it seemed like it had tapered off again. But then later on in the night, I remember that it had started up again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is just never going to stop raining. But it finally did stop raining, and today we have a beautiful day, no rain, so things will have a chance to dry out. My clothes are damp, my pants and my shirt, but they will dry out relatively soon. So, and it's also not, I mean, at least for now, it's not super hot, so that's good. So day's off to a fine start. Yeah, we're kind of in a stretch of trail now where we're gonna have much more frequent access to towns and stores than we've been used to in earlier parts of the trail. So like, we got to Pine Grove Furnace State Park. That was on Saturday. And then on Monday, which was yesterday, we got to... Yeah. Well, Sunday night we got into Boiling Springs, and then Monday morning, yesterday, we walked in. So that was another town, basically like a little over, just like a day and a half after getting the ice cream at Pine Grove Furnace. And then probably maybe sometime in the afternoon we'll get into Duncannon today. And Duncannon's an actual town. It's a little bit bigger than Boiling Springs, at least the part that we're going to walk through. They don't have a grocery store like in the part that we're going to walk through. If we wanted to go to a grocery store, it would be like an extra 0.6 mile walk. But we don't need to go to a grocery store. They have a Sunoco gas station with a attached convenience store. And there's also a separate convenience store in town. So there's like 2 convenience stores that sell convenience store type food. And I might actually, I think I'm gonna go into those convenience stores and see if they sell dry dog food. Like, I mean, they usually sell like 3.5 pound bags. I'm about halfway through the dry food that I packed out for Riley from Pine Grove Furnace. So I think, and we have about a 70-mile stretch to get to Port Clinton. So I think I could use another replenishing of his dry dog food. I still have plenty of the freeze-dried dog food, so, but I like to mix the freeze-dried dog food with the regular dry dog food. So that's the one thing that I might look to resupply on while we're in Duncannon. The other things is that the main thing is that there's really good ice cream shop called 3B's, or 3B ice cream. I think they make their own ice cream, and so it's definitely an upgrade from the standard ice cream that you buy in a grocery store in a tub. Not that there's anything wrong with that the regular ice cream. I like all ice cream, but this is like an extra special ice cream, and they sell it in quart sizes, so I can at least plan to get a quart. And there's for actual food, I can't just feel like I've just been surviving on ice cream pretty much the past several days. There's also a place called Mama Pat's, which is like a Philly style sandwich shop, and she sells hot and cold subs, but she doesn't have any veggie subs on the menu. But she does have something called a Mama Pat's loaded salad, which I'm curious about possibly trying. I think the price is like $10, so I'm definitely interested in that. If it seems like it's a fairly big serving. And she also sells a large fries for $6 and a large onion rings for $6.95. And she also sells sides of potato salad and macaroni salad, like large 16-ounce sides of those for like $6.95. So depending on how hungry I am when we get there, I think I will satisfy my appetite by going there and getting some combination of the salad, fries, onion rings, and potato salad. And then I'll try to leave some room for the ice cream. I'll try to get some more dog food for Riley, and if they have some cans of wet food at a reasonable price in the gas station convenience stores, I think I'll get some of that and give it to Riley as well. But I also want to do this without taking too much time. I got very delayed in yesterday morning in Boiling Springs, and that is definitely a risk with all these towns and delis that we pass by, that we're just going to get so delayed because my eyes just grow up to the size of cantaloupes when I get to a town and have the opportunity to eat some good food or eat some ice cream. So I don't want it to prevent us from continuing to make progress on the trail, so just have to try to balance that. Anyway, so that's all for an update. Mr. Riley is doing a good job of staying behind me, but still hiking well. I'll kind of just let him in front. So anyway, that's all for now. We'll check in later. All right, so Riley and I are continuing on. I was about to take my camera out to do some filming, which I just did, but before that, before I got my camera out, I looked down at my fanny pack that I'm wearing, and I realized that I had it on the wrong way, so that the zipper here, which I keep my GoPro in, it was facing upside down. So I just stopped to take a break to correct that, and was able to get my camera out. And I think I mentioned it in the first video this morning, but my guidebook says that the last 6.6 miles or so into Duncannon are particularly rocky. The trail is it describes it as very rocky. And so Riley and I are in this rocky section now. So I just thought it might be nice to do a little filming of it. I would agree that it is rocky. I might even agree that it is very rocky. And it is definitely not easy. But at the same time, it's nothing that we haven't experienced before in other parts of the trail. This would be definitely much more challenging and annoying if we were trying to do it at night with poor light. But we're doing it in the daytime and we have plenty of light. And so that gives me plenty of time to just keep my eyes on the ground, keep my eyes attuned, or keep my eyes focused on where the rocks are and where the soft ground is, and where possible just try to place my feet in the soft parts, kind of like walking between the raindrops. And so it's slowing us down a little bit. Definitely not going at the same pace that we were going yesterday in the Cumberland Valley. The rocks are clearing up for a bit here, but I'm sure they will resume soon. Riley is doing fine. He's not complaining at all that it's too rocky or anything. Just caught my foot on a rock there. That happens often, whether it be a rock or a root or some other log or something. Try to avoid it whenever I can, but it just happens whenever I lose my concentration enough and the opportunity is there for me to trip over something. So this is definitely not the rocky part. We're in a little stretch here where it's not too rocky. The day is definitely much warmer than yesterday. The rain has certainly passed. But we've been in the shade most of the day, so that's helped to keep us from being too hot. So Van Gogh and Riley here. Still making progress towards Duncannon. I've been taking several breaks today. Mostly because I'm requesting the break, not necessarily Riley. My pack feels alright. Yesterday I was taking breaks to rest my shoulders. And today I'm just taking breaks to give my legs a rest. Definitely feels different compared to yesterday, where I started the day with a whole tub of ice cream to give myself some energy. And then today, back to normal, and didn't have crazy amount of ice cream to start the day. So my legs are feeling a little more tired, and it's also just nice to take a break to spread out hiking through all these rocks. Riley's doing just fine. And it feels like it's cooled down just recently in the day compared to earlier in the day. So I'm guessing we're getting close to evening time. Like, it might already be like 5 o'clock or so. And we passed by the last shelter, which is Cove Mountain Shelter. We passed by the side trail that leads in there. And when we passed by there, we had 4 more miles to do to get to Duncannon. I'm guessing we may have done about a mile, so we probably have about 3 miles left. So we're getting there, slowly but surely. Riley, I'm letting you lead. We have begun the slow descent. After the shelter, it's like a gradual descent, and then once we get to this, there's some view spot that we're going to get to, and that's like the halfway point between Duncannon and the shelter. And when we get to the view spot, there's 2 more miles to go to get to Duncannon, and we're done with the gradual decline, and then it turns into like a much steeper decline for most of the way to Duncannon. There is a small uphill section that is rather steep, just shortly before getting into town. So we got to the view spot that I had mentioned earlier. And there was another guy there, a guy who lives in town. So I didn't pull my camera out to take any pictures. But then, yeah, so we chatted briefly with the guy. He just mentioned that he moved to town about a year ago, and he frequently hikes up from town up to where the view spot is, and then back, just kind of for fun and to get some exercise. And he wasn't planning to stay long. He had just gotten up there, but then he decided it was time to go down. So that was an invitation for Riley and I to continue on. And the other guy, he's a fast hiker, so he's ahead of us. But just wanted to say we have begun the descent, the proper descent into Duncannon. We have less than 2 miles to go, so it'll still take a little while. It's not easy terrain, and 2 miles will take at least an hour. But we're getting there. So we'll be there soon enough, and I don't have the excitement in my body like I did when I was getting into towns earlier in the hike, like Hot Springs or Irwin. But still, it'll still be nice to get some good food. Hopefully, yeah, I'm sure we'll get some good food, and I think my body's craving some actual food, like dinner food. Of course I'm gonna get the ice cream, but before the ice cream I definitely should probably get some good real food rather than just dessert food. Anyway, so I'll stop rambling here and we'll check in later on. Riley's doing just fine here. Alright, so I was trying to pull my camera out earlier because I wanted to get some shots of the rocky parts. And the earlier parts were rocky, but this part definitely qualifies as rocky. Like, look at all that stuff. It's rocks just everywhere. But fortunately, the rocks are nicely arranged where we're hiking on the trail, so that it's kind of like a staircase for us. We can hear the din of the Duncannon traffic off in the distance. I try to walk at a very moderate pace when going through these rocky sections. Partly because it makes it just easier on myself and Riley. You know, it makes it easier to avoid tripping or falling. Some more trash here to pick up. If I keep seeing a lot of trash on the way down, I'm not gonna keep picking it up. I'm less inclined to pick up trash when we're close to a town, because as opposed to when we're more in the wilderness area. Because when we're close to a town, it's like, obviously the source of the trash is because we're close to a town, and you can pick up lots of trash, but people are just going to keep putting more trash. So anyway, I picked that piece up. What was I saying? Yes, I was saying I walk at a moderate pace. It's just easier to avoid injury that way. It's easier on Riley. And the other thing is that it's also easier on my shoes. So the shoes can really take a beating when you're walking through these rocky sections, especially if you're trying to go at a fast pace. But if you go at a slower pace, you have much more ability to control kind of where your feet are going, and the shoes are still going to take a beating, but they can take less of a beating if you're more thoughtful about where to place your feet. So it's kind of like the same thing where when you drive a car, you can extend the life of your car if you treat it nicely when you drive it, by not slamming on the brakes and kind of just being more careful when you're accelerating and decelerating. And the same applies to treating your hiking shoes. You can definitely help extend the life by walking more thoughtfully. At some point, of course, the shoes are gonna wear out. The terrain is just, it's gonna take its toll no matter what. So I last night, before going to sleep, I was doing some more review of my AT guide and looking far out to see what towns are coming up, remind myself of the towns that are coming up, and kind of plan out where I might need to resupply, and where I'll have an opportunity to resupply. So after Duncannon, Riley, the next town that the trail will actually make like contact with, like actually go through, as opposed to just getting to a road where you have to get a hitch or walk over a mile to get there. The next town that the trail will go through directly is Port Clinton, which is about 70 miles north of here. There's a nice rest bench. Anyway, so I'm gonna, like I said before, I'm gonna try to get some more dry dog food in one of the convenience stores in Duncannon, so that I have enough to last me the 4 or 5 days that it takes to get to Duncannon. I'm sorry, to get to Port Clinton. And I would also like to see if I can get some Wi-Fi access so I can order some dog food on Amazon to be shipped to the post office in Port Clinton, because there's no there's no grocery store in Port Clinton. It's a very small town. They basically have a post office, they have a candy store, they have a fire department, but there's no grocery store like right in town. Port Clinton is close to this bigger town called Hamburg, Pennsylvania, but Hamburg is like a mile and a half or maybe a little bit further away from Port Clinton. So I'm sure the locals can just drive to Hamburg to go to Walmart or get whatever they need there. But there's no convenience stores or anything that I expect to sell dog food in the town, so I'm gonna try to order. I'm thinking I'll order like 10 pounds. All right, here's more trash. More trash, right? All right, so I'm gonna continue to be a nice guy and pick up trash that I see. It's not a big problem. I can just throw it away when we get to town. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'll order 10 pounds to be shipped to Port Clinton. And anyway, so the next town after Port Clinton that the trail goes through is Delaware Water Gap, and that's close to mile 1300 on the trail. So there's whatever we leave Port Clinton with, it's going to have to last us about 80 miles. So 5 or 6 days, give or take. And then after Delaware Water Gap, around mile 1300, the next town that I expect to have a chance to resupply at is Unionville, New York, which is around mile 1350. So about 50 miles north of Delaware Water Gap. So I might be able to do with just like 5 pounds of dog food leaving Delaware Water Gap. And I'll probably have a little bit left over from Port Clinton. And Delaware Water Gap does have some gas station convenience stores, so I can either plan to mail myself something to the post office, or I can just plan to buy something at one of the convenience stores and hope that they do have dog food, which I think they probably will, but nothing's guaranteed. Anyway, so there's Unionville, New York, mile 1350, 50 miles north of Delaware Water Gap. And then from there, there's various like shops that the trail will go near without necessarily going into a town. Like there's like I think 15 or 20 miles north of Unionville. We need to, this might be the climb that I was thinking of. Probably, I'm not sure, but we need to, it's telling us to go up here instead of continuing that way. Yeah, there's various shops. Like there's a place called Heaven Hill Farm, which I think is like 15 or 20 miles north of Unionville. And it's not a farm, but it's like a produce shop. And I stopped in there in 2018. That's how I remember it. And they sell fresh produce, fresh vegetables, and they sell ice cream. I don't think they sell dog food, but that is an opportunity to, at least for me, to get some food and get some fresh food after Unionville. And then another 20 miles north of there, there's, I think there's also a hot dog stand. There's a few hot dog stands, which probably sells like French fries and various lunch items. Anyway, so the next town after Unionville. All right, so my phone battery ran out earlier. I was just rambling about future towns that we're gonna get to, and so I was up to Unionville, New York, which is like mile 1350, and we're at mile like 1150 now. So I'm already thinking like farther ahead than I need to. We've descended the mountain. We just came out from where that telephone pole is, where the double white blazes are. And we're not in the actual town yet, but we're definitely in a developed area. There's this trailhead here, and it talks about how Duncannon has always been in the kind of around the middle of the Appalachian Trail. It says Duncannon, PA is called the Appalachian Trail's middle mile. So it's got this map of the whole AT here. Riley, hold up, buddy. Hold up, big guy. With Springer Mountain down at the south, Mount Katahdin up in Maine, and then Duncannon is indicated with the star there. And then it's got this cool map of like this close-up of Duncannon, so it shows we are right here. And then it shows the rivers here. So the trail is in red. And basically we're just going through Duncannon because we need to get to the other side of this river here. So this river, I guess, is the Susquehanna River. And we're gonna go through Duncannon and then cross over a bridge over the Juniata River. And then we're gonna cross over another bridge, apparently, which goes over the Susquehanna River. And then I guess we're gonna get back into the woods and kind of do a zigzag before continuing north here. So it's just kind of cool to see the trail on the map there. If there were a bridge right here, I guess the trail would just go right over the bridge here, but the trail has to go in the direction where the various bridges are so that we can continue north. Cool. So this is where Mama Pat's is, the place that I was talking about earlier. But they're not open apparently, so it is what it is. Come on, Riley. We'll continue on. I did stop at the 7-Eleven convenience store that's connected to a Sunoco gas station on the way into town. Gosh, I need to put this away because there's lots of traffic here, so. All right, so we are safely on the sidewalk now, and we're walking down I think this is like the main street in Duncannon. I'm just gonna keep my thing on here. Sorry. Hello, how are you? Yes. Come on, buddy.
Got the best partner and amazing to have you.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You on the old trail?
We are, yes, we're trying to.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Washington, D.C. area.
Oh, we're headed.
Yes.
Well, you're still out there doing it.
You are correct about that, sir. You are correct.
Take care.
Yep, take care as well. Riley, come here. Let's check out the laundry place. Watch out, Riley. Hold up, buddy. Watch out, Riley. It's okay. No, watch out, Riley. Hey, over here. Come on. Very nice. Come here, Riley. Watch out. Come here, Riley. Come here, buddy. Cool. I'd heard that there might be a free food pantry here in the laundromat, but I don't see anything. Anyway, so yeah, I was able to stop by, and I also heard that they have Wi-Fi here. Do they have Wi-Fi here? Hold up, buddy. I don't see any Wi-Fi here. Trail laundry. Does it give a password for Wi-Fi? Ah, password, clean clothes. Okay, very nice. All right, I don't need to film this. I just wanted to say I stopped by the 7-Eleven and I got a chocolate milk, I got a loaf of wheat bread, I got some a 4-pound bag of dog food, and I got 3 discounted 7-ounce bags of sour gummy worms and gummy bears for $1 each. So I'm gonna take care of some business on Wi-Fi here, and then we're gonna continue on. All right, so Riley and I are heading out of Duncannon now. It's a little late. It's definitely past 8 p.m. now. And we're crossing over the first bridge. I believe this is the Juniata River. And then I think we're gonna cross over a bridge over there, which is the Susquehanna River. And so basically this right here is where the Juniata and the Susquehanna rivers meet. So I believe that's what's called a confluence of rivers. So it's the confluence of the Juniata and the Susquehanna rivers. That's what it is. I ended up not getting ice cream. We did stop in to see the place, but I ended up not getting ice cream because at the laundry place, I did find the food pantry, and I was able to kind of stock up on some food items. So my pack's very heavy now. We're well stocked on food, and I just couldn't justify buying more food that I didn't need. So that's why I didn't get ice cream. So Riley, we're gonna continue on now. Bye for now. So now we're walking over the second bridge. I need to be careful not to drop my camera or anything else in the river down below. So this is the Susquehanna River, and it's meeting the Juniata River right over there. I think our destination tonight is going to be Clark's Ferry Shelter. I think we have maybe a little more than a mile to go once we get back into the woods. Mr. Riley. All right, so I know there's very low light here. Zoom, 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 zoom. So we crossed the bridge, and it was a little confusing figuring out which way to go. Fortunately, they had, on the places where they had blazes, they also had arrows to direct you which way you needed to turn. And we're finally getting back into the woods here. There's this friendly AT sign, Maine to Georgia, and we're gonna duck back into the woods here just by crossing the railroad tracks, and then we're gonna be nice and easy following the trail again. All right, good evening. Just want to close out the day here. So Riley and I are in our tent now, and we did not make it to Clark's Ferry Shelter. We found a place, a flat enough place to set up our tent, so that we didn't need to go all the way to the shelter. The shelter was a little bit farther than I thought. So once we kind of got off of the back into the woods, I checked far out, and the shelter was actually 2.6 miles away. And it was already like 9 o'clock at that point, and it was already dark. So we hiked another half mile, and I found a side path that seemed like it was going to lead to a campsite. And the campsite, well, it led to like kind of a resting area, but there were lots of rocks there. Not lots of rocks, but there were a moderate amount of rocks. Anyway, so I looked around the area, and I saw a kind of a grassy patch with some medium grass that isn't ideal to set up a tent, but it seems to work fine. The ground's flat, the ground is soft enough to get all the tent stakes in. I mean, we're in our tent now, so it's already set up. The only unusual thing is that since the grass is like moderately high, the tent, it's like kind of pushing the tent up in places where we're not actually resting our weight on it. Which is, it's fine. It's fine. But it's not a standard campsite. Anyway, so we're here. Our hiking day is over. We only hiked 12.7 miles today. I took lots of breaks, and then we got kind of delayed in Duncannon. I was able to, so we spent a good amount of time at that laundry place, and I actually went in there because I read on Far Out that they have Wi-Fi access, and also that they had a food pantry. And they also had air conditioning, which was really comfortable for Riley and I to take a break in. And they had power outlets, so I was able to charge my GoPro batteries. And I was able to get lots of good food at the food pantry. It was just, it's basically just stocked by people that want to put food there, that don't need food, and it's free for people to take who want food. I definitely took more than I needed to. More than I should have. So my conscience is telling me that I shouldn't have taken as much food as I should have, or as much as I did. But the hiker in me says that it's good to have extra food for both Riley and I, and we will enjoy it very much on the trail. I mean, most of the food that I got is human food, so it'll be for me. And Riley has enough food, since I got an extra 4.4 pound bag of dry dog food at the gas station. I also was able to order some more dog food and another tub of oatmeal to be shipped to the post office in Port Clinton, and that's going to be delivered. The expected delivery date is this Saturday, and today is Tuesday night. Port Clinton is 68 miles away, so the most likely option is that we hike an average of 13.6 miles per day over the next 5 days, and we spend the night at the town shelter, the town pavilion that they have in Port Clinton, and then we pick up the package on Monday morning. Of course, the post office isn't open on Sunday, so the only alternative is that we try to get there on Saturday, and the post office closes at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and that's assuming that it's actually delivered by 11 a.m. on Saturday, which I'm not sure of. But if if we want to pursue that option, then we would need to hike 68 miles over like 3 1/3 days, which is just crazy. But I'll see how tomorrow goes. I'll see how the terrain is. But most likely we'll just get there on Monday morning. So anyway, so 12.7 miles today. We are at mile 1152.3 according to Far Out. We can still hear the traffic noise. Lots of highways, lots of traffic in Duncannon. It's not bothering us. We're gonna sleep fine tonight. So I should stop rambling and close out the day. So if you're watching this, I hope you're doing well. Hope you have a good night, and Riley and I will check in tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.